Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special Titusville City Council meeting of January 29th at 5:30 p.m. I see no ministers in the audience. If anybody would like to say an invocation, they may. I see no one. Please join me in a moment of silent prayer. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to go over the fiscal year 18 CDBG grant annual performance report and the FY 20 request for funding presentations, the presentations for funding. Mr. City Manager, you want to take it over there?
Yes, sir. Annually, the Neighborhood Services Department is tasked with developing an action plan to administer federal CDBG grant funds. As part of this process, the department advertises requests for proposals to allocate funds to eligible nonprofit agencies or organizations serving the community to assist the department in the administration and expenditure of program funds. Additionally, during the annual action plan process, the department provides an opportunity for the public to comment on its past year's performance. And Terry's here to provide the briefing, I believe, presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes. Can we have the first presentation? So as the Mayor indicated, we're here to provide the public with a performance review of our Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership programs for FY 17-18. We're also going to review the strategies that have been identified which the programs can be funded under. And then we're going to hear requests from those agencies that have applied for funding for FY 19-20. Okay. Is it not on? Is there a special button?
But there's a special guy in the back.
It is on the side.
On the side. It shows it's on. It's not working.
Here he comes.
Okay. Oh, there it went. Maybe I just wasn't pointing at the right direction. Okay, make sure. There we go. So just to give a little overview of, maybe the batteries are going. Well, darn. Yeah, I think that's what he was going to do. There we go. Who the Neighborhood Services Department is. So we manage and oversee the city's CDBG, home, NSP grants, and the SHIP grant programs. These are federal and state grants that we receive funding for public services, housing programs, and also infrastructure improvements throughout the city. Our organizational chart there. So the mission of the department is to, I know a lot of people think it's just about fixing homes, but it's not. We also provide supportive services to ensure all citizens, regardless of income, have decent and safe place to live. And we serve to maintain economic stability in our neighborhoods by preserving the housing. Our goals, we want to ensure programs are appropriate for the community needs. We also want to consider the history, needs, demographics, economics, and the housing stock when we shape our plan. We design programs that address needs related to the revitalization of neighborhoods, preservation of housing, and serving the needs of our residents. On the revitalization objectives, we want to focus on resources that can target small areas so that we see achievable, visible results. We want to address the needs in neighborhoods, such as the housing programs, redevelopment programs, and economic development programs. Preservation, we focus on preserving and retaining existing housing stock to sustain or improve property values. We do that through a variety of programs. We serve the needs of our citizens. We focus on a diverse range of programs, from those that serve eligible low-income residents to those that target specific needs, such as we create and address lead-based paint in housing, we improve accessibility, we make emergency repairs, and we improve infrastructure. Under our housing objectives, we prevent the declining of neighborhoods and targeted areas. We provide safe and efficient housing. We stimulate interest in neighborhood preservation, and we partner with other programs for the maximum impact for our community. So in implementing the programs, we must understand the community's needs. So we must know the conditions and the availability of housing stock. We prepare a consolidated plan that will outline the programs that the city will implement. We conduct surveys throughout the community, and we listen to program participants. We put goals and objectives in writing and include measurable milestones. We review those goals and objectives periodically to make sure that we're on target. We undertake initiatives that are compatible with the mission and reject those that are not. We also plan for change when we're developing our action plan. We monitor our met and unmet needs. We secure support for activities, and we also establish priorities. We secure community support through various meetings in the community. We meet with property owners. We also analyze the market, and we target programs that's right for the market and the properties. We also have to look at our available resources and constraints as well when we're developing a plan. So we have to analyze staffing, the availability of consultants and contractors, and then we inventory potential partners that will help us in implementing the plan. So what is CDBG grant? It's federal funds that come through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Those funds, up to 15% can be used for public services, and those would be for the agencies that are here tonight. Up to 20% can be used for administration to administer the grant program. The remainder of the funds have to be used to serve low to moderate income persons. So that can be housing programs, economic development, infrastructure such as streets, parks, code enforcement, public services, and also demolition and clearance activities. The home grant is also federal funds, but we get those dispersed from the Brevard County through a partnership under the Home Consortium. 15% of those funds have to be set aside for CHODOs, which is what is commonly known as Community Housing Development Organizations. 10%, up to 10%, is for administration, and the remainder of funds can only be used for housing activities in the home program. And we have to acquire a 25% match in order to get the home funds. So we use our SHIP grant for that. So under our annual report in FY 17-18, this shows you the availability of revenue that we have between our CDBG and home grant. It was a little over $670,000. You'll see that broken down, how much was CDBG, how much was home. We also carried over excuse me, unspent funds from 16-17, just a little over $200,000. During last year, we also received a repayment in our home program, what is considered program income, and that was derived from a default on a loan. So last year in FY 17-18, we expended a little over 140,000. You'll see that broke down there between CDBG and home. That left a balance of unexpended funds at 9/30/18 as 535,416, and you'll see how that's broken out. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how much money we had on hand, because we have ongoing programs that are funded by those dollars that were previously approved. They just didn't complete by September 30th. So last year, the city funded 4 public service agencies, you'll see here, Meals on Wheels, the Early Learning Coalition, North Brevard Charities, and the Women's Center. Those were your public services, which encompass that 15% cap. We also had 2 other programs, 3 really. The NICE program, that is your neighborhood improvement through code enforcement efforts. And that is a dedicated program that the Code Enforcement Office operates that provides proactive code enforcement in our target area. And then you see our administration costs there. The balance of funds that we seen a couple of slides ago, these are where those funds have been allocated. So under the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, we have that NICE program, and then we have the Street Improvement Program, which has been resurfacing streets within the target area. We also had our housing programs between the home and SHIP programs. That's the amount of funds that's been set aside for our various housing programs, our emergency repairs, our rehabilitation, and our first-time homebuyer program. So our accomplishments for FY17 under our housing rehab program, we completed 5 homes. They were provided with rehabilitation improvements, which brought them up to minimum housing code. You see there are a total of funds that were expended and an additional in SHIP. Our first-time homebuyer program has been going on since FY16, and to date we've had 2 families that have successfully purchased their first home through that program. So that's basically the end of our performance report. If there's any questions at this time from council or the public, we'd be welcome to answer those for you.
Member Jordan?
Yeah, I really appreciate this program, but I really need to understand exactly.
Sure.
You made mention that you do have funds that you carried over, and you said all of that money is not in the bank anywhere. So what percentage of what you are showing is actually just money sitting in the bank?
So the CDBG program is on a reimbursement basis. So what that means is the city has to spend money first, and then we ask for reimbursement from HUD. The amount that was shown is the actual allocation amount that HUD has awarded this city, but not necessarily do we have that cash on hand, because we have to ask for reimbursement. The SHIP program is the only program that we get the funds up front. CDBG and home, it's on a reimbursement basis.
So how much money do you have on hand?
On hand, I don't think, we try not to have any on hand, because HUD rules says you can't keep more than, a certain amount on hand. So probably right now, probably just a couple of thousand.
Okay, all right. Now that sounds better, because my vision is whatever monies we have to improve, then we need to use it to improve.
Right.
And not have it, not just saving it. The other thing, $55,000 that you're using, and that's basically for you? For administration?
To administer the program, correct.
But that includes your salary too, right?
That includes salaries. It also includes supplies and things needed to.
So you're not getting anything from the city? City proper
No.
per our budget?
Yeah, general fund does supplement.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to, okay. Thank you.
Member Stokel?
Mine's budget-related question, too. So from I just want to understand better, the home grant, you said that is dispersed through the county. So do we apply for this grant, or does the county apply for it? And then how does that process work, I guess?
So CDBG and home are both what is called entitlement grants. So as long as the city submits an action plan to HUD every year, we're entitled to those funds.
Okay.
So we get them, I don't want to use the word automatically, but they're allocated to us. So we don't have to necessarily write a grant to apply for them. As long as we submit a plan both with CDBG and home, then they're entitled.
What's the county's role, I guess?
So with the home grant, because the city's population is not large enough to receive home funds directly,
Okay.
we've partnered with the county. It's Titusville, Palm Bay, Cocoa, and Melbourne have all
Okay.
partnered with the county so that we can have access to those home dollars.
And then my other question with that, you said that requires a match
Yes, it does.
from a non-federal grant,
Correct.
which is currently the SHIP grant?
Correct.
What is that considered, I guess? Is that, what type of grant?
The SHIP grant comes from the Florida Housing Finance Corporation,
Okay.
which is a state-funded agency.
And we're entitled to that as well, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that money comes through doc stamps when you
Okay.
record documents, yeah.
Okay, and then it's okay if you don't know this, I was just curious, and this is kind of to Member Jordan's question. The entire, I guess, budget for this, where some of it comes from general fund, do we know the percentage that's grant and then the percentage that's general fund for this whole department, I guess?
Not
doing that.
exactly, I don't
Okay,
know.
that's okay,
I
I
could
was
give you a
just
good
curious. No, that
estimate.
is perfectly fine, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Just a couple of basic ones, I think, just to clarify for those watching and myself. Allows up to 15% for public services.
Yes.
What are the public services, just quickly?
So HUD has a category called public services, and it's any nonprofit or for-profit agency that provides a service to low-income households.
Okay. And that kind of brings me to my next one. 70% of funds must be used to serve low to moderate income persons. Is there a HUD number on that, what the household income would be to be classified as low, moderate income?
There is, I don't have it with me
That's
tonight,
fine.
but yes, there is.
I can find that.
Yeah.
And I'm just, again, I think it's just kind of something that when we go over this whole thing and we talk about budget and where it comes
Mm-hmm.
from, I think the question starts, okay, who do we benefit? And
Right.
clearly, this speaks to that, and I'd just be interested to know what level that reaches, because certainly I've had more people, a lot of folks that I know would ask, do they qualify? And that's
Sure.
probably why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do have that income guidelines on our webpage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mine is real easy.
Okay.
Well, one is and one isn't. Remind me what CHDO is.
So that's Community Housing Development Organization. So
Okay.
those are organizations that have gone through a criteria application cycle through Brevard County, and they've been deemed to serve the community in providing affordable housing.
Okay, so that's basically somebody, an organization
And
that
I
comes
think we
in.
have two in Titusville that are CHODOs, North Brevard's Charities and the
Okay.
Homeless Coalition.
Okay, and then the amount that is given for the CDBG that HUD gives us,
Mm-hmm.
is there a formula they go by, or is
Yes.
it they just,
No, there is a formula, it's population-based.
okay.
Yeah.
So if our population goes up, we get more?
Then we get more, correct. Yeah.
Thanks.
Member Jordan?
Yeah, a couple more questions.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
No.
First one, I was looking at the first-time home buyers. Why do we only have 2 families?
That's a good question. We allocated, the last time we had first-time home buyers, it was a great success. We had probably over 20, 25 people go through the program. This year, well, actually last year, we funded the program with $60,000, which would have helped 5 households if they got the maximum assistance. Up to this point, after 2.5 years, we've only had 2 people apply. Actually, we've had 3. The other one is looking for a home. I asked our, because we've outsourced the program, I've asked our contractor that's running the program, you know, why they thought there wasn't more. And they seem to think because right now the home prices, or they were low, and they don't need the assistance, that would be the only reason that they knew that there wasn't many more
Okay.
applicants.
Well, now you caught my interest. First of all, we have a contractor that is advertising, trying to
Yes.
find people.
Yes.
So what do they do when they don't find anyone? If you only
Well,
have two,
Yeah, the money comes back to the city. We
Okay.
actually, there was, I think $7,000 left, which we took back because it wasn't enough to help another household, and that's gone back into our housing rehab program.
I'm sorry, that wasn't my question.
Oh, I'm
My
sorry.
question
I'm
is
having a
more-
hard time here.
No, I apologize. My question is more about the contractor. So we have a contract with them for a certain amount of money, correct? How much is that?
Correct, 60,000.
How much do you pay the contractor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So of the 60,000, each successful closing that they do, they get $2,600, and that covers to hold the first-time homebuyer counseling class that they're required to attend, and doing the income intake and the paperwork and inspections on the home to make sure that they meet code.
Okay, they do something else besides this, apparently. They do something else besides this contract.
Yes, they actually do all of the other consortium members' first-time
Okay.
homebuyer. Yeah.
'Cause they would be going under if that's the case, but two. The last thing is you mentioned for your 17-18 accomplishments that you had 5 homes that were rehabilitated, but then you said it was up to minimum housing code. What does that mean?
So the program is designed to address minimum housing code, and that is like your major trades, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, roofing, and what's the word I'm looking for? I'm drawing a blank. Energy efficient, you know,
Okay.
windows and doors and things like that. So we address those things first because there is a building code that addresses those. Then it's not for cosmetic things. So that's why we concentrate on the minimum housing so that their home is safe and secure for them.
So I understand what you're saying. You're basically talking about the structure of the facility and the workings, but wouldn't it make the customer or the client feel better if their house was painted?
Oh, certainly. We try to, with every home, paint, because that's part of protecting the
Right.
exterior of the home. So
Right.
9 times out of the 10,
Okay.
There's painting included unless they've recently painted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
I see no other questions on that. I'm going to go to the next one.
So before we hear from the agencies tonight, I just wanted to go over...
Microphone?
Before we hear from our agencies tonight, I just wanted to go over our consolidated plan strategies that were approved, that the RFPs will be reviewed to make sure that they meet the conditions of our consolidated plan. So you see them up there. We have sustain and support and create suitable affordable housing, including housing for special needs population and the homeless, provide and support public services, which is this portion of the process tonight, and also provide infrastructure and neighborhood improvements in low-income target areas. Enhance the safety and sustainability and support neighborhood-based organization and groups to create community unity. And this kind of gives you a snapshot over the last 10 years of where the grant funds have gone. Well, I shouldn't say have gone, of what the city has received from CDBG and Home. Those are your revenues. And you can see that we did have a dip there in 12, 13, and then we've slowly working back up. But you can see 10, 11 was our good year, that we got a lot of money. So the breakdown of, for this year, we use our current year allocation as an estimate for next year. We're not sure if we'll get more or we'll get less, but we use that as a starting point in designing our next year action plan. So here's what the 20% cap would look like for administration if we hold with this year's allocation. That's what 15% looks like that you can allocate to the nonprofits for public services. And then the remaining balance would go to projects that serve low-income housing. I mean, not low-income housing, low-income households. Under the home program, again, this is this year's allocation. We use that as a base, so that is what administration would look like. You'll notice that that's not quite 10%. The county has decided, since they're the lead, they take a little more than 10% and give us the balance. That's your CHOTO set aside for your housing developers, and then the rest is for your housing programs. Let's see, so are there any questions on that before we turn it over to our agencies tonight?
I have one. Member Jordan?
Just one question. You're showing the 20% and the 15%. Do you actually need that amount for administration?
Yes, sir. We actually usually exceed that every year.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the second half of this meeting tonight, we'll hear from those agencies. I'm going to turn you over to E.B. Berardi. She's our grants manager, and she'll go through that process with you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Good evening.
Our first presenter will be ELC.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is, I'm sorry, I was a little nervous. My name is Gina Souza, and I am the interim executive director of the Early Learning Coalition. I have with me tonight Kathy Odom. She's the director of business operations, so if there's questions, I'm going to bring over the money lady. We thank you for the opportunity to speak with you for just a few minutes tonight about the Early Learning Coalition and how we provide families of Brevard, specifically the residents of the city of Titusville. The Early Learning Coalition School Readiness Program serves families who are working, going to school, disabled, receiving cash assistance, and children referred to us from DCF, who are all in need of a safe and nurturing child care environment. For many low to moderate income families, working families, support for a high cost of childcare is what allows them to continue to work or attend college classes. So families are required to pay a parent fee on a sliding fee scale. It is not uncommon for families to be asked to pay $185 or over $210 a week for an infant, and that's just one child. If you're a low-income working family, you can see how the math just doesn't work. Why many families, even those who want to work and go to school, they just cannot afford the cost of childcare. Childcare assistance allows parents to work, which far reaches the benefits for families not receiving services, but also for the community in general. Services are also provided to high-access, high-quality early learning services through the Coalition's network of 110 contracted childcare providers. There are 24 childcare providers in Titusville that provide school readiness services to the children. Many of the businesses would tell you that they're unable to remain operational if they lost funding through the Early Learning Coalition. Currently in Brevard, we serve 30,400 children a month for school readiness. As of today, there are 650 children remaining on the waiting list, waiting for services. Of those, 101 are from those children residing in the city of Titusville. Local investments made to school readiness programs are considered matching funds. These funds are required to draw down federal dollars for subsidized child care services. The Coalition is required to obtain an annual local match in the amount of 6% for all income-eligible child care services, the amount equal to $400,000 a year. CDBG funds are requested as a match to fund to provide direct services for those children. No funding will be used for salaries or other operational expenses. Every dollar invested locally is for subsidized, generates $16.67 in federal matching funds that flow into the Early Learning Coalition of Brevard for the children. An award of $12,000 will generate an additional $240,000 of matching funds to serve children residing in Titusville. I thank you for your time this evening, and I look forward to a continued partnership with the City of Titusville to support the residents for this important need. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? I see one. Member Stokel?
Mine's pretty quick. What's the percentage ratio of that matching funds? I remember this being an issue last year. I just want to make sure I get it correct.
Is it 16?
She might have it over here.
She probably has it on the top of her head.
I'm not sure I understand the question, I'm sorry.
The ratio per dollar, what we get in matching funds?
$16.67 per dollar.
60, okay. $16.07?
$16.67.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
It was. Vice Mayor?
Mine's even easier, simply because I didn't hear you. How many students, that's what I do.
That's all right. Some students do.
How many children do you serve a year? Is that what you?
We serve 3,400 a month,
Or 3,400 a month?
and it rotates. You know, sometimes they come in, they go out, but on an average, it's 3,400 every month.
Well, that's awesome. That's why I was confused. I thought it was 334,000. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You good?
Member Jordan?
Thank you very much. I need to understand, if we were, $210 a week is what you said a parent would
It
be.
could be as much as 210.
And so how much would they get from your program?
They actually pay on a sliding scale, and it's based
Okay.
on the amount of people in the family and their income. So there's a graph that the state provides us with on how much they pay. It depends on how much they make a year and how many people are in that family.
Okay.
So it's very little. It's usually less than 10%. So the average fee is probably $2 a day.
$2
Want
a
to add
day?
to it?
Well, I think his question was how much we actually pay the center.
Right.
It varies on the age of the child, the younger child and special needs children, and it also varies on the certifications, not certifications.
Gold seal,
Gold seal
accreditation.
accreditation. So if a center is Gold Seal accredited, they get an extra 20%, and the fees go from $28, we just changed our fees last year. I used to have them memorized. $28, I believe, for a child that isn't at a Gold Seal center, so 20% more than that for a Gold Seal center for an infant, all the way down to, I want to say, $13.40 for a school-age child while they're in school.
Okay.
So during the summer, it's higher but during the school year, it's $13 and change. Again, a 20% supplement on top of that if they're accredited.
And how long have you all been getting this grant from us?
I've been with the coalition for 12 years, and we had gotten it every year that I had been there until last year. We did not apply for funding due to our board's decision to not apply for, when I say last year, it's the current year, which is 18-19. And then, so 17-18 was our last year, and then we didn't apply for 18-19, and we're applying again now for 19-20.
And the rationale from the board of why you didn't apply? You didn't need the money?
No, it wasn't that we didn't need the money.
Have to
There were
ask.
some logistics. We wanted to make sure that we were bringing in the children that really needed services, and we needed to take a look at our processes, and we didn't want to ask for money if we weren't able to serve the city of Titusville the way it should be served.
Okay, thank you.
Member Nelson?
Okay, you told us how many students you see every month. How many kids in Titusville do you see on a monthly basis?
I don't
I don't know off the top of my head. We have it broken down, but I didn't bring that with me. I'm sorry. But I could
Okay.
get that for you.
I would be interested.
Absolutely.
And the other thing was, you talked about a Gold Seal Center. What is that?
They go through a process to become accredited. It's quite difficult for the centers to go through it. They have to meet a lot of the criteria for whatever the accreditation portion is. There's different types of accreditation
Okay.
depending on the center. but they have to go through a very rigorous series of things. They have to have certain teachers on staff that have certain credentials in order to meet those quality dollars.
Do we have Gold Seal accredited places in Titusville?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say a majority of the centers, there's different types of centers. There's private homes.
Okay.
And then there's centers. The private home, family homes, they don't normally obtain Gold Seal because it is quite expensive to get this accreditation. But the centers, usually in Titusville, I would say the majority of them are Gold Seal.
And they have to go through it every 3 years.
Yeah,
So that once they
depending on
get it, it's not good forever. They have to go back through the process to renew.
Well, that's nice to know. Thank you.
Member Stokel.
Okay, you may not have the answer to this question, but I was just curious. So looking back 2 years ago, it looks like we gave you guys a little over 5,000. Plus when you factor in the matching funds, probably a little over 80,000. Can you tell us how many, I was gonna say students again, kids, children, families that you were able to help, what that equates to in terms of families or kids? If you don't know, it's okay, just to
can
help
figure
us
it out and
get
just-
an idea.
We have the information.
On average, that would be about 27 children, 26, 27 children. The average cost for a child for a year, we say average because again, depending on the age of the child, it could be higher or lower, is about anywhere from $3,400 to $3,600 a year is what we supplement.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? I see none. Any comments from, I see none. Next up.
Thank you.
Our next presenter this evening is going to be Ms. Jacqueline Reason with GROW.
Who is it? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Would you say?
I'm sorry. Our next presenter this evening is going to be Jacqueline Reason with GROW.
Okay, and she is with whom? Grow. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Reason, and I'm with GROW Nonprofit Services Corporation. We are new to Titusville. I'm actually from Indian River County, and we operated GROW Inc. in Indian River County for about 15 years. I've been in the nonprofit industry since 1997, working with youth at various ages, starting from infants and going through post-secondary education. Currently, we're located over at the Gibson Center, and I have been there for 3 years, just developing and restructuring and raising the level of the program based on previous experience. One other factor that I do need to mention as I go through the presentation is that in addition to leading GROW Nonprofit Services Corporation, I have recently been named president for Progressive Action Society. It's important that I mention that because the two programs are working succinctly. So that's why I brought that up. But GROW Nonprofit Services focuses on developing a program network. We look for individuals that are actively working in the community, serving youth in various ways. These are individuals who have personally invested in different youth programs, and they're looking for help in order to sustain their organization, in order to understand what they need to do as nonprofits and to be effective leaders in the community. Right now, if you look at this photo, I'm going to go down the list and I'll explain what this photo on the right is about. We've asked for $15,000 in funding for youth sponsorships to fund up to 20 eligible youth participants. Again, we're located at the Gibson Center. I'm going to jump to the left to the diagram. So the gold circles on the outside represent the programs that are currently in the GROW Nonprofit Network. These are all of the services that we're currently about to launch over at the Gibson Center. The funding would sponsor youth to participate in these programs that will be housed at the Gibson Center. So we're going to go back over to the right side. What GROW does is we provide a standard professional development program framework that each of these individuals implement into their different organizations. These individuals go through a training and certification process through our organization to be able to manage a nonprofit. My credentials for being able to do that, number one, is the years of experience that I've spent in the industry. I have a master's in business management, and I've also attended Rollins College Philanthropy Center and obtained various certifications in nonprofit management, proposal writing, and grant writing. Previously, I did all of the grant writing for our organization, and I was successful in bringing in close to $3 million for our center in Indian River County. So grant writing is something that I'm able to help them with as well and teach them the process. We have a standard program application that we all use. We have a standard eligibility criteria. We have a standard set of program services and performance measures that we're all working by. We've created a standard data capture and reporting system that we will all use. And we also have standard operating tools and resources. This framework was created by myself, and it's based on the 15 years that we spent operating our community center our education center in Indian River County. One of the reasons why I did this is, well, there's two reasons. One is the number of requests that I would get from different organizations, not necessarily locally, but we had people from different states, different cities that were very interested in our program because we were quite successful with what we did. We were not able to give them any direction for implementing the program that we had. So that told me that I kind of needed to put something together in case someone else was interested in implementing the same type of program. I would be able to provide some sort of direction and assistance in helping to do that. The other reason is simply because I got so many people, and I still get a lot of people who call me because they know about the success I was able to have, and they want me to help them. So I can't go to one person and say, okay, I can help you, but you need to pay me X amount of dollars. They can't afford to do that. So I had to come up with a creative solution. So what I did is I put together a course where I can bring these people together and take them through a step-by-step process. This process has been submitted and approved by the Division of Continuing Education with University of Central Florida, and it's also being considered as a for-credit class with the university and with Eastern Florida at this particular time. So this is the first group that I've actually had in the program, and we are about to finish up the training portion. There's a second component for internship, and with the internship, they actually implement their strategic plan and implement their program. So what we're looking to do, I said all of that because it's important in the structure. What we're looking to do is actually receive funding to sponsor 15 youth to come into the GROW Nonprofit Network, starting with our job training and work experience program. These individuals will provide a number of support services to them. So there may be for instance, there's a youth transitional service. I'm very excited about this one. This young lady has 16 years of experience as a transitional and juvenile case manager working with homeless youth and youth that do not have anywhere to go when they leave the foster system. I got a lot of those young people coming into the program before. So this will be a very valuable resource, but she also offers a number of other services and classes that they'll be able to take advantage of. So a student may come into with the GROW network, but they can also request to participate in other programs that are within the network. So if they're interested in athletics, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with Fighting Edge, the sponsorship would also cover them to go and participate with Fighting Edge as well. So for 20 youth, we're looking at $15,000. That's approximately $1,200, or it breaks down to $40 a week. If they want to participate with Fighting Edge for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, however their structure is, then a portion of that sponsorship would go to them. So we're sharing the sponsorship based upon what the student would like to participate in. So it's not necessarily just one program. Now, to supplement this particular request, we also have rental income coming from the Gibson Center. So when I mentioned that we are now coordinating with Progressive Action Society's business, we're responsible for managing the rentals and managing the facility. Building H, Building I on the weekends for Progressive Action Society, so that brings in additional money. Progressive Action Society sponsors youth with rental income. So this is additional funding that we can also use to sponsor additional youth. So our goal is to be able to bring in 50 students during the 2019-2020 year between the rental revenue, between this grant if we're approved, and we also are going to be implementing work experience. So with the work experience, we'll be generating additional revenue. I don't know how many of you have actually gone over to the Gibson Center and visited there. Can I ask how many have been there? So everyone's familiar with the Gibson Center. So inside of both facilities that we have, one the community knows is the library. It has a warming kitchen. In the cafeteria, there's a commercial kitchen. So with the commercial kitchen, we're going to be implementing the culinary and catering work experience program to support the events that are being hosted there at the facility. So we're in the process of developing different types of packages that we can offer to people who may come and want to have a repast or a reception or a birthday party and have this group get some work experience, generate more revenue to help support the programs. So that's one work experience program that we have in mind. The others are facility services and maintenance, technical services, and that would be we called it an office and print center prior. It was set up exactly like the FedEx Kinko's. So we will have one of those in there, a front office. So at Gibson Center, there are several nonprofits that operate from there, but we all operate individually. That kind of bothers me because when I came here, and I've been out there for 3 years, I really didn't know who was there until Jeff Davis called a meeting. And I was very, very surprised to find out how many organizations are there. So one of the things that we're looking at doing with the work experience is setting up a front office. So in that main entrance, and in that main lobby where there's offices and no one is sitting there, we would like to put a receptionist, and we would like to operate it as a little school, a little community school, where we have some office where a person can come and ask for an application for any of those organizations, where FedEx would be able to know where to drop off a package, because right now it's hit or miss when your package shows up, okay, and bookkeeping. So those are some of the work experience opportunities that we've already identified that would be available if we're able to get the funding for youth sponsorships.
Thank you. I have a question. Does Fighting Edge pay a rental fee on it?
Fighting Edge does pay a rental fee, as far as I know, yes.
Okay, but you're not handling that?
No.
Okay.
They pay that to the county.
Okay. All right. But would you be bringing all of the groups over there under your auspices as a?
It is my goal. Most of them are.
Doesn't quite answer my question.
Most of them are. There's still one I'm working on.
Okay, thank you. Member Jordan. He pushed the button first. It's real easy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Couple of questions. You said $1,200 a year you're asking for $15,000. You have
Correct.
20 students, and you broke it down, I thought you said $1,200 or $40 a week.
Just for 39 weeks for the school year.
39 weeks,
Correct,
okay.
for the school year.
And how much time are they spending over there per week?
They're spent right after school until 6 o'clock, so that's Monday through Friday, but the work experience would actually be weekends,
Okay.
because that's where the majority of the events take place. One of the goals that we do have is to increase the rental business during the week. So we're putting together different opportunities that we can go out to present to small businesses, corporations, churches, to be able to come in and utilize the facility during the week for different business activities. Once that happens, then we can look at doing more work experience during the week. But right now, the culinary itself would be focused on the weekends. Everything else would be during the week after school, when school is out and during vacations.
All right, I just want to be clear. It sounds to me like you're just developing this. This is a new organization.
I operated this same organization in Indian River County.
No, I understand that.
It's new here.
It's new here,
Yes.
right? And you're a 501c?
Yes,
You already have your paperwork and everything?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor, please.
Are these 9 organizations in the circle outside the GNPSC program, are they under your umbrella or are they separate entities?
They're separate entities. They all have their own FEIN number. They have the option of being under our umbrella, but right now, everyone has elected to operate as a separate organization.
So the funding at this point wouldn't necessarily be part of these other 9 because what I think you're trying to do, or maybe your vision is to get everybody under one umbrella and move in one direction.
Yes, but we're going to move in one direction as separate entities. Eventually, yes, I would like to have everyone under one umbrella, but right now, that's just not where we are. They all have their own FEIN number. So what would happen, like with Fighting Edge, if they have someone that's interested, then they would get a portion of this funding to cover a student that would be interested in their program but not necessarily have the money.
See, and that's where I get confused, and I'm pretty close with the Fighting Edge, and I could be totally wrong, but it's my understanding that, sure, I'm sure the tuition would be helpful, so to speak, if that's the correct word, but I also understand they don't charge anybody.
For now, but they are going to.
All right, well, I won't speak for Willie on that, but my understanding is that, and actually, the mayor and I both were just at a meeting a week ago Saturday, and that's not where I think he's coming from. I'm not saying that he won't need to do something down the road, but I guess what I'm getting at is a $15,000 funding request. How does that relate to the 9 circles outside?
Only if they would, once they provide service. If there's a youth that comes into this network, okay, first of all, there's a common application. So if a youth walks into the door, any of these doors, they're going to fill out an application that is common to all of our organizations. Okay? We have a common eligibility criteria. Remember, we're working together as a network. So we have a standard operating system that we're using. So they're to come in, they're going to fill out the application, we're going to go through the eligibility criteria, and they will select what it is they're interested in. Based upon that, then the funding that we get with this youth sponsorship, we will distribute, we will fund them. So they're not, even though we're working as a network and they're not under our umbrella, we're still working collaboratively. So we're trying to leverage these dollars. So these people are part of our network. So if we have a youth that's interested and they come in, first of all, they do have to participate in job training or work experience. That's number one. But they also have the option to participate in an additional program. They're not limited to just the one program. Because some of these students, they need a lot more than just job training. They need other support. They need other services.
Oh, so what if, and again, I'm just trying to understand this because I've got one perception, and this is a guy that has been at Gibson for 45 or 50 years. So there's been a lot of different looks to Gibson and a lot of different people trying to make it work. So I appreciate your effort for sure. Make sure that you understand that any question I have is not anything except trying to understand where this is going.
Right.
If somebody wanted to, because you said first thing is job training, if somebody simply wanted to go to Fighting Edge and they go in the back door there and they go box, that wouldn't necessarily have anything to do with you. Yes or no?
It would be, yes, it would be a referral, especially, well, if Willie implements a fee, which we've discussed and they're looking at doing that, and this individual does not have the money to pay the fee, they would be able to come to me, and it would be my organization that would actually cover that fee. It could be from this sponsorship, it could be from a sponsorship from the rentals, it could be from funding that we bring in from work experience. It could be from different sources. But yes, we would help cover the cost for a student to participate in one of these other programs.
Okay, ultimately, and this is the last one, ultimately they'd need to be under your umbrella to document
Correct.
where the funding went and who got it.
Correct. So that's why we have a system so that that's done. And that's why everything is coming through us so that that's done, so we can report where the money is going, who got it, who we sponsored, what services they received, et cetera, what funding source it came from.
Okay.
So
And even if I
hopefully that
don't,
makes-
or I didn't come across as totally understanding, and perhaps I'm still a little fuzzy on some things, I do know that your effort is obviously sincere and beneficial to whoever comes in contact with it. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Stokel.
Okay, thank you. First off, I'm very fascinated by this because I feel like there's a couple things that I don't understand fully, but I feel like this is a really good framework model, something that we could do some good stuff with. A couple questions. 20 eligible youth. How do you define eligible?
So eligible is age 14 to 24 in school. So we have an in-school
Okay.
and an out-of-school youth component. So in school, of course, is in school. They would be low income, but if they're in school, we're going to look at either free or reduced lunch. We really are looking for students who has never had a job, or if they've had a job, they were terminated. The idea behind my passion for job training and work experience is in low-income communities, you really don't have a business structure. So the youth really don't have access to a whole lot of opportunities to go and learn how to work.
Okay.
So this is my passion for being able to create these types of opportunities for them.
Okay. I'm assuming there's probably no matching funds at this point.
Well, at this point, just with what we're generating with the rentals, and I also get memberships.
Okay.
So these individuals that are in the network, they actually pay a membership fee. And there are I have 2 sponsors outside of these, which are larger organizations, and they're paying a membership fee, but they're sponsoring programs. So
Okay.
what this means is when they sponsor a program, there's a certain amount of money in there that's built in to train someone to go through this program, become certified, and come to their facility and actually set up a
Okay.
program and operate that program.
Okay.
Okay? So we have 2 of those, and we have 3 pending.
Okay. And then to understand the nonprofit, to me, it sounds like there's 2 separate components. One where you are helping and training people that are trying to run nonprofits, and then one to help students and kids go through this program.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. And then in terms, and Member Diesel was touching on this a little bit, in terms of how this looks with a student coming in, this is from what I'm gathering. A student would come into your place, I'm interested in your program. I really like the collaboration component here. But what happens is, depending on what their particular needs or interests are, they may only do the 2 that you're requiring and Fighting Edge, for
Correct.
instance. If Fighting Edge is not charging, they may not spend the full $1,200. Would that be an accurate statement?
Correct.
Okay, so potentially, so some of these programs may be charging, some of them may not.
Correct.
What you would do, depending on who's charging what, I guess, would allocate then accordingly. So some of the students may end up costing $600 for them to go through their program. Another student may be the full $1,200. It just depends. But they'll have those two that are required, and then whatever their interests are.
Correct. So
Okay.
a student that participates in job training for the entire school year would spend the entire $1,200.
Okay.
If they only want to participate for one semester and they go do something else the second semester, then there would be additional money that they can use somewhere else. Or if they're not interested in participating at all, they're gone, and now that money is available for others.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Member Nelson?
Hi.
Hi.
Start off with the attorney question. Sorry. Do you have an agreement, a signed agreement with each of these groups?
I have a signed agreement with each one of the groups, and I also have an attorney on the board who actually put the agreement together with
Okay.
me.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Do we have kids that have gone through the program yet, or is this just, you're looking for a grant to get it started?
We have not had kids that have gone through the youth portion of the program as of yet.
Okay.
No.
How about the adults? Have they gone through
Yes, this group of adults that's in the picture is our first group. They're actually finishing up the trainer portion, if you will. Now, these individuals are actually implementing the programs that we operated in Indian River County.
Okay, so they're going someplace else to start the program.
So these people are actually in Titusville. The one gentleman that you see, he's actually in West Palm Beach, so he will have a program in West Palm Beach, so he's not counted. But the other four are local.
Or local?
Yes.
And they will be starting programs within Titusville?
Right, and they'll be out at the working their program out of the Gibson Center initially, and then as it grows, they may end up having to find a different space. But right now, everything is going to be housed out of the Gibson Center.
And then, so a student comes in and they go through the program for a year.
Right.
And they are not getting credit for it, I'm assuming. They're getting experience.
They're getting experience. They'll get competency training, and they will, if they complete the entire program, they will get a certificate.
Okay.
Now, UCF they do not give credentials to anyone under the age of 18 through continuing education.
Okay.
So I'm working with Eastern Florida for youth that are under the age of 18 for them to receive a credential upon their completion. But
Okay.
the older youth that are 18 and older, they will actually get their credential from University of Central Florida.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a couple of questions, I guess. So you're indicating that all of the organizations over there are on board with your plan at this
Yes.
point? Okay. And you have a written agreement, a signed agreement?
I do.
Okay. Could you give us a copy of it, a non-signed one?
I will. I'll have to email it.
And if you'll do that to Ms. Basaka, do you want? Okay. To you. And if you'll give us all a copy, please.
Okay.
And the city manager and the city attorney. I was talking to her then. You just have to send one over, ma'am, and she'll take care of distributing it.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Not hearing any. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next.
Our next presenter is going to be Becky Lundstrom with the Women's Center.
Hey there, my name is Becky. I'm with the Women's Center. Before I get started, the Women's Center has a brand new executive director, Jenny Gessler. I don't know if any of you knew Jenny. Retired as of last Friday. And Stephanie Husted is back here with us today. She's been with us, since the beginning of the month, and but this is her first real week without Jenny, so happy to have her with us.
Trial by fire, huh?
Yes, sir. So anyway, if you guys aren't familiar with the Women's Center, we've been in the county since 1975. We've had a presence in Titusville since 2010. We enjoy strong partnerships with the city, Titusville Police Department, Parish Medical, and many local families, and we're very grateful for that. With all of your help, in fiscal year 17-18, we were able to provide 7,422 services to 1,355 Titusville residents who are victims of violence. Examples of the services we provided were shelter in our safe house, crisis counseling, personal advocacy, crisis hotline counseling, assistance with injunctions for protection, and victim compensation claims. We just received our closeout letter from EB this past week for our 2016-2017 year. And that letter we were happy to get, and it stated that we had overperformed and exceeded our goals and performance measures for that fiscal year. And we thank EB. She's been fun to work with. The continued need to assist victims of violence is demonstrated through the FDLE Uniform Crime Report for 2017. It showed that Titusville had 587 domestic violence offenses. The numbers for 2018 should be out very soon. Our safe house is a much-needed facility for women and their children who have been in imminent danger and have been made homeless due to their abuser. Our mission is to empower women and their families by providing counseling, support, education, information, and services. We do this through 4 programs. Our Victim Services Program, and that provides victims of violence with advocacy, safe housing, safety planning support, assistance with the injunction for protection, and emergency safe houses, both here in Titusville, and we have one in Melbourne also. And we also run the Certified Sexual Assault Victim Services Program for the county. We took that over from the State Attorney's Office in 2016. And we also provide violence bystander training on all Eastern Florida State College campuses. We have a counseling program that serves a full range of counseling services and issues. It's provided on a sliding scale, and victims of violence receive those services for free. We have a self-sufficiency program that provides basic needs to clients, as well as a transitional safe housing program for homeless women and children. And then we have a youth program where we provide counseling for the youth, and then we have a summer day camp each summer for 1 week long that focuses on self-esteem and safe relationships. We're asking for $15,000 to support our Victim Services Program, which would pay for or help pay for operational expenses at the safe house. And so that would include like utilities, small repairs on the house, and things of that nature. Yeah, like your security system. It also would help provide household expenses and food expenses for the women and their children while they're there. You have any questions for me? It's a quick nutshell summary.
I'd like to start out with a comment, frankly, but
yes.
The years that you have had a unit in Titusville, and I've been on council all of those years.
Yes, you have.
And been through the facilities many times, and I just want to say you've done a fabulous job over there, and congratulations on what you've done.
Yeah, thank you. I sit in the back office, but and I always say I don't really do I don't do the real work, but our advocates and therapists are fantastic. I can't say how well of a job they do, and we're very proud of them.
You don't give yourself enough credit. You do the real work too. You keep it all organized and so forth.
I do
so
that.
That's necessary.
Thank you.
Member Jordan.
Okay, thank you, sir. Of course, I'm certainly familiar with what you all do. You do a great job for sure. But I have a question for you.
Yes,
I
sir.
heard you talk about performance measures.
Mm-hmm.
First time I heard that from anyone. Can you explain what type of performance measures you have?
Well, within the grant, we have to say how many people we're going to help and how many services we're going to provide each year.
Okay, okay.
So those are the measures that are within this grant.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Member Stoker?
Are there any matching funds with this one?
Well, I don't have any funds that I have to match for you guys, and we do have some other grants. Well, some of them are federal funds, and you can't match federal funds with federal funds. But this grant would provide only 3% of our Titusville Victim Services budget. So,
Okay.
so
That's
anyway,
good
you
to-
can do the
that is
math.
good- That is good to know.
97% of our other
Okay.
budget just comes from other funding, and that's from state funding, federal funding, and private corporations, private foundations, and we do a lot of fundraising events without all that.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Oh, I see one more. Member
Just
Short.
one other
You
question.
get the prize tonight for most questions.
Well,
That's
I'm
good.
interested for sure, but
That's
why did you come up with 15,000? How did you come up with your number?
You know, that's been a kind of a traditional amount that we've been able to ask for in the past.
Well, someone told you to just to ask
You
for
know,
15,000
so I've been
or
here
what?
since 2014,
Right.
and back then, I believe that may have been the maximum we
Is
could
that the
ask
max?
for. But I might make a note to ask for more next year.
No, the only reason I'm new here.
I know.
So you know.
I
Do look new?
didn't see your face last year, so either
No,
you're absent
I wasn't
or.
here. I wasn't here last year. No, I wasn't. I'm just looking at all the requests from the organizations, and they're somewhere in the $15,000, $16,000 range. So that's why I was asking if that was the max that one could ask for.
They have received that in the past, yes. It just depends on that 15% allocation from the total allocation from CDBG for Public Services. So the organizations that apply, they just have to be financially responsible and just think about, okay, how much do we really need?
Okay. And is there a total number of organizations? Do you have a maximum number of organizations that can apply? No? Okay. So if there is less people, let's just say next year it's only 3 who apply, then what happens to the rest of the money?
It's typically allocated among the people who apply who are eligible under the grant. So for instance, this year we have about $45,000, and we will, the staff will review all of the applications to determine who's eligible under the HUD guidelines, and then we come up with a way to divvy that up, and then we come back to council for them to approve that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I see no other lights. You want to go on to the next item
I'm
at
going
this
to
point?
give you guys some brochures. You can
Sure.
pass them out, and it just outlines our services and our SAPs.
If you just hand them to anybody down there, they'll... Go to the next item, or do you want any further discussion on this?
Yes, sir, we've got 2 more presentations.
Oh, we do? We have more? Okay.
Our next presenter is Chrissy
The
Elliott
next
from
person.
the YMCA.
And then, sir, after the presentations, we do have cards for this item as well.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us in this exciting opportunity to hopefully expand our reach in the upcoming years. So I don't know if everyone knows, the Y is actually a charitable organization. So a lot of people think we're just a gym, but we're in the business of saving lives, and we keep that broad on purpose. So if you don't know, the YMCA is actually in 120 countries. We actually have 2,700 Ys just in the U.S. So currently, our Central Florida YMCA is actually the 11th biggest association in the country. We actually have 23 different family centers, and we currently are considered an outreach Y. So we currently can't sustain ourselves financially, so we do get a lot of assistance from our Orlando Metro offices and also some of our bigger Ys. So here in Brevard, we do have our Cocoa YMCA and our Brevard YMCA, and my name is Chrissy Elliott. I'm the actually district executive director for Brevard. So about 75% of my time is specifically based here in Titusville, and about 25% of my time is in Cocoa. So another fact that I like to share is that 8 of 10 people, it is said, actually have a YMCA experience in their lifetime. So again, that's a pretty amazing touch and reach that we have. But we pride ourselves in basically not turning away anybody due to the inability to pay. Okay, so that's a very bold statement for us, and we actually, most of my purpose is to actually find those funds and work with our staff, work with our amazing board, work with local businesses and our community that is involved in the Y, and find that money. So currently for 2019, my goal for scholarship dollars is actually over $100,000. So it's a big goal. By 2020, that should raise to about $115,000 to $118,000. Okay, so we have an amazing staff. We actually already have 100% participation for 2019 with our staff. I currently have about 45 staff. They've already raised $6,000, so they started us off very strong. Our amazing board, we have 27 strong. They are huge Y advocates for us, and they are currently at 75%. We still have another month. We will get to 100%, and they will be almost at $30,000. So again, it's just a great start for us. But specifically why we're here tonight is for our summer camp. We see so much potential with the summer, and our strategic plan really has an aggressive growth between this summer and next summer. So right now we have identified very few quality options for our teens and our kids. We really believe we could fill that void. We are not just a babysitter. We are actually there with a very established curriculum. Nationwide, so Y of the USA, we do extremely intensive background checks. We do 80+ hours for every single staff person of training that does come into our program. So again, nationwide curriculum, we have daily outcomes that have to be reported daily. So daily reading goals, physical activity, so try and combat that childhood obesity that we see in our society right now. Our values training, so honesty, respect, all those go into effect, and then family engagement as well. So our families are invited in to camp days so they understand we're all in this together, right? So our niche is really the teens and our younger kids that are coming up, and our niche recently has been with anti-bullying and suicide prevention. So we obviously want to be that safe place that the community can go to and be great partners in the community. Like I said, 80+ hours minimum. For all of our staff. We do have to start recruiting actually in February, so it's coming up very quickly. But we do have great resources in the community, partnering with Brevard Schools. They actually chose us as one of their free lunch spots last year. So we got actually all of our campers received free breakfast and free lunch. So again, another quality piece of our program. Field trips, we do like to stay in Brevard County and make sure that our funds are used wisely and these kids experience all the things we have here in our backyard. We also work very closely with the fire department and the police department. Again, just trying to be great partners and service everybody that we can. Our location on Harrison Street is very pretty much adjacent right to the South Street Target area. So currently about 22% of our members are actually serviced from the Target area since we are so close. We do have a very extensive scholarship program. So again, like I mentioned in the beginning, we don't turn anyone away for the inability to pay. So that's why we are very aggressive in raising funds. Currently, we actually serve 1,185 families in the community, and 23% of them are actually on scholarship. So our concept with the CDBG fund is to basically offer a member rate to families that couldn't afford it and use that to give them a 50% scholarship. So the families would only have to pay $65 per week, which equates to the number of hours in the day, $1.18 per hour for childcare during the summer. So 23 is 27 kids times 11 weeks, 277 kids could benefit from this over the summer. So right now, between 2019 and 2020, our goals are really we want to be known for quality and variety of programs. We want to make sure that we're consistent, we're clean, we're safe, we're doing the basics very, very well. Customer service, and then also being a welcoming culture, right? Being very, very supportive and trying to make the difference in these kids' lives so that they remember this as they grow into young adults. So obviously the culture I'm trying to create with my staff and our leadership team, it's a big responsibility to serve and to give back. We want that culture to start at the Y, being very positive and bringing hope So we truly believe we're a Y family. So it's really about us telling our story, and we have to do better at that. So I can give you just a couple of examples just within the last couple of weeks. I have a young member, Reese. He was actually born with only one limb. His mom was picked him up in Russia. They were in a plutonium plant, and he was saved, and he was brought to, and given the American dream. He's a basketball player. He's a wrestler. He swam with only one arm. And this guy, his dream is to become a motivational speaker, and we're helping him get there. He's going to be speaking at a Brevard Prayer Breakfast, which is always held in March down at the Cocoa Civic Center. I've submitted him to be on a national stage, and he's going to be speaking at a lot of our local churches. So just one example. Another one, Ryan, he's a troubled teen. Right before Christmas, he actually tried to commit suicide. And we actually invited him out to our teen event, which was actually the first Friday of January. He came in, finally started to open up with our teen advisors, and believe it or not, he was the first kid out dancing and laughing, and you wouldn't know that 2-3 weeks earlier that he had gone through something so tragic. Will, I'll give you this last example. Will is a member, he's only about 65, and he's suffering from MS, and slowly his senses are starting to deteriorate. So he's losing his sight, his sense of smell, his balance is going, but every single day he comes in for his 20 minutes and gets in his workout so he can delay some of those things that are coming. So we just want to say we appreciate this opportunity, really want to expand our reach as much as we possibly can. We want to combat that summer slide that all these kids have, and obviously childhood obesity. So 23 to 27 kids per week, 277 kids for the entire summer, and we know we can nail it. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Questions? Member Jordan.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, I'm familiar with you for sure. You're doing an excellent job. Did you request money last year?
We did not. Actually, this is my second year in Brevard, and honestly got into the process a little bit too late. So this is our first try at it.
I'm still trying to understand. You say 27 kids per week, and you're talking separate kids for the 277, right?
They could come back multiple weeks, but right now with our maximum ratio, we can do one counselor for every 18 kids. We believe we can go up to almost 75 kids with our counselor ratio. And right now we have about 50% that are actually members. We have 25% that are non-members, and then we have 25% approximately that are actually on scholarship. So we kind of put those numbers into play as we started to figure out exactly what those numbers would be, and they added up to the 16,620.
Okay, all right, that's what's going to be my next question. How did you come up with that number? Okay.
I did give a very detailed, if you can see it, I know it's a little small, but breakdown by week, what we would spend and what we would need.
Okay, and if you don't get this money, what happens?
I'll go find it somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, we have to grow.
Would not have been the best thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
No,
up to us.
saying,
You know,
yeah.
we value this and feel it's that important, so we will go find a way to make it happen.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Vice Mayor.
Is this a practice of the YMCA in other municipalities where they seek the funds from the city council? And I'm not being negative here, I'm just trying to find out. I guess I must admit, YMCA, and as you kind of started your talk with, it's not the group you expect to see in front of you seeking the funds. I don't think I even knew, and I'm pretty familiar with there, and I've been there, I've spoken with you. I don't think I understood the nonprofit aspect as much as you're stating. So I guess I digress. Is this a common practice to seek a collaboration?
Actually, about a week after I applied here, I got the City of Cocoa grant funding, but we're not ready for that there. I think I know our programming here is solid. Honestly, I'm kind of thinking outside the box just a little bit and trying to make sure that we can deliver, but I have heard of it happening, but right now in Orlando, I don't believe anybody is going for it.
Okay, and how would you determine who would receive scholarships in the summer? What's the criteria and how do you do it?
Right. So our scholarship, we have a very detailed scholarship worksheet, which I did include. It is similar to what I actually was given by the CDBG. We also are on the SAC committees on a lot of our local middle schools and our elementary schools. So again, they said that they would work with us on how do they identify low-income persons or families that are coming in. So we would obviously use our resources and our contacts there to supplement what we already have. So we do have, like I said, a 22 to 23% rate of people that are already in the target area. But we also, those scholarships, we really actively go out into the community and say, hey, and come in, check us out. And then if money is an option, let us work with you. So we do have a very structured scholarship, 30, 40, and 50% that is available. We don't advertise that. We don't put that on websites, but it is common practice when you do come into our facility.
Okay. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Member Nelson.
Okay, Christy, this is just, kid comes in, family has no money. What do you do with that one?
We have it all the time. So, right now they might not be able to afford a family membership, but a teen membership is very doable. It's less than $35. So we said, hey, let's get started with that, right? So if they have nothing to do, I'll give you an example. This past summer, we have a newer member. He has 2 kids, and he is working at a local restaurant. His kids were sitting at the bar. Again, we walk in, and we're like, wow. They're going to sit up here all summer and not interact. So we worked with our local church. Internally, we have the Grove Church. We were able to work out some discounted funding. 11 weeks, those 2 kids were in our camp.
Okay, so it is doable.
It is. We work with everyone individually. It's hard to do, but we do.
Because I was just sitting there when you were talking, and I'm like, so what happens if a family comes in and they truly can't afford $65 a week for a kid?
Right. And we do have members that step up. I had one last week that said, I want to pay for a month of someone that really needs it. So we saved those funds, and we were able to take care of a family today.
Okay.
So, yeah, it happens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. I see no other questions. Any comments?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next.
And we do list the city projects as the Neighborhood Revitalization Street Improvement Program. I'm not sure if Kevin had planned to speak on that, or you, or?
I have it. I have it, sir. If we could go back to the slide. The Community Development Block Grant Program for fiscal year 19 and 20. As you see, this is the South Street target area that is defined by HUD per census tracts. The Street Improvement Program, Public Works Department is seeking funding to continue the resurfacing of the standard roadways within the low-income target area, which is the map that you just saw, for a total of approximately 1.33 miles. And those are the proposed streets that we're looking at doing. I do want to mention that with those streets, keep in mind, they may change depending on environmental issues, but at this time, there's no foreseen issues. The budget was, where staff would utilize approximately $180,000 in CDBG funds for 19 and 20.
Okay, we have cards on.
We have cards, but we believe most of the speakers have spoken. So what I'd like the clerk to do is go ahead and read the cards one more time and just make sure that we've gotten everybody.
Fine.
Gina Souza. Christy Elliott. Becky Lundstrom, I think just left. And Mr. Azell Hickman waived his right to speak, or declined to speak after the fact.
Who is the, I couldn't hear the last.
Mr. Hickman waived his right to speak.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear them. All right, thank you. All right, next item.
Yes, sir. The staff presentation on the SHIP grant program. This presentation is information precursor to the upcoming cycle for the city's next local housing assistance plan, or LAP, which is due in May of 2019. And with that, fire away.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to be discussing the State Housing Initiative Partnership, or better known as the SHIP program. Your SHIP mates for the Neighborhood Services Department would be Terry Franklin, the director, myself as a grants manager, Rose Koenig for program specialist, Tracy Davis is the clerical assistant. SHIP SHIP is distributed to 67 counties and 52 CDBG entitlement cities. Our local partners are contractors, developers, sponsors. The SHIP background was passed in 1992 here in Florida. It is a state-funded grant supported by housing advocates. It allows localities to design programs for homeowners. Funds are allocated based upon population size, which we talked about earlier. It's governed by Florida statutes. And the primary objective is to assist low and moderate income persons by providing housing assistance. Now we're going to cover the SHIP rules. 65% of funds is reserved for home ownership. At least 75% of those funds is reserved for construction. 30% of those funds will serve very low-income persons. 30% of funds must also serve low-income persons. And 20% of those funds must serve persons with special needs. Day-to-day administration and operations, contract management, tracking expenditures to ensure compliance, monitoring. We do a lot of that. Preparation of reports, the LHAP, and the annual performance report are some of the administrative functions. The elements of the LHAP, which we will be coming back to you in March to present. Section 1 would be the administration, our partners, leveraging resources, budgeting, regulatory compliances, and efforts to reduce homelessness. Section 2 of the LHAP goes over the types of programs that we will offer, applicant selection criteria, sponsor, developer selection criteria. Section 3 is affordable housing and set of strategies. And Section 4 exhibits administrative budget, timeline, delivery of goal charts, the LHAP certification, adopting resolution, and the ordinance. Staff will be present and before council in March to go over the LHAP. Any questions?
Okay, any questions?
And just to summarize where we're at in the process for this began in November, and you're at the first public hearing special meeting, which is being held on the 29th. This is, the timeline is on page 11 of your agenda. The recommendations will come back to you during your 12 March City Council meeting. You'll have your second public hearing on the 23rd of April, and then the series goes all the way into the implementation of the budget. So this gives you a timeline of where we're at and where we're going with these programs.
Okay, and next item?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I do have one question.
Go right ahead.
You were talking about very low and low income, and then you said something about homeless. I don't understand the homeless component. How do you do that?
As a locality, we need to look at our partners and see what services are already provided to try to reduce the homelessness. We work currently with the county and the COC, the Continuum of Care.
Okay.
Through our partners.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Next item, sir.
Sir, our final item is project-based learning, which AKA Space Coast Fab Lab. They have indicated that they are no longer able to meet the requirements of our grant and are turning the equipment as in the contract back to the city. We have secured all of the equipment that, per an agreement with them, that we felt could walk, computers, that sort of things, some of the welders. We have spoken with the owner of the property where the remaining equipment is, and he is okay for us to leave the big heavy equipment that can't go anywhere without a professional move. And I think we've done fairly decent. What we're asking council to provide staff is direction on where you would like this equipment to go. knowing that there's a public purpose connected with that. And Chelsea, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Anybody have any suggestions they'd like to put forth?
If I could. We are aware of a couple of different possibilities, and we'd like the opportunity to research those possibilities and bring the options back to you.
That would be great. You still want to speak, sir? Go right ahead.
Yeah, when we're asking that question and where we wanted to go, I certainly need more information than just say, put it over in the garage or something. So, so I'm very glad that that's done.
We just wanted to know if there's anything you wanted us to research or any additional places that you would like for us to take a look at.
It might be interesting to, with the lady that spoke from Grow, it sounds like she's starting up, I don't know, potentially with one of her little branch outs. I don't know, I just thought about it. But, okay.
You could, certainly you could check and see if there's anything there.
There is a variety of different pieces of equipment, and what the city's looking for is direction on any entity or organization that you think would be appropriate. The alternative direction would be, of course, auctioning off the equipment to recover the funds that the city had paid for the reimbursement of those pieces of equipment. We've got about 8 welding machines, 19 computers, a Grizzly mill, and a laser printer. The mill and the laser printer are the pieces that can't be moved without professional movers.
If you can send that list to us.
Sure. So we've secured 8 welding machines and 19 computers, and there are 2 pieces of physical equipment that are too large to be moved. The first is called a Grizzly mill, and the second is a Boss laser. It's a laser engraving machine, and those 2 items are too large to be moved until they have a place to go.
If I might, I would certainly, and I think it's probably been mentioned in your discussions, BPS, Brevard Public Schools, would be somebody that is a no-brainer, I'm sure that, and then, of course, EFSC, with all the vocational things that they're doing. So as far as, you know, sending us someplace, those are the ideas I'd come up with.
Member Nelson?
One of the ideas that I was thinking about rolling around in my head today, we have the Space Consortium that was looking for a partnership, or was actually trying to partner with David Beavers to get a machine shop up here. And I understand they are back in discussions with Eastern Florida. There was a slight falling out, sort of a rough falling out, but apparently they're back talking. And Eastern Florida has agreed that they would look at putting a machine shop up here. So
That would be great to look at. Anyone else would like to speak?
When is she coming? When are you coming back?
I don't know if I'll make the 12th because that is, the agenda deadline is next week. But if we are successful, it would be the 12th. Otherwise, it'll have to be the next meeting.
Okay.
Anyone else? One other area we should talk about, I guess. I don't think there is any necessity at this point, since everything's been turned in and no further funds are being allocated and so forth, to take any action against Fab Lab. Is everybody agreement on that?
I agree.
Attorney, you have
Yeah.
those directions not to do anything.
Thank you, sir.
I
Okay. Anything else?
just want to complete that thought. Yeah, I agree with that, but I would be remiss. I remember last time we had this meeting, we talked about accepting the report, and I stepped up and I was really disappointed they weren't here. So just to go back and digress back to the first couple times they presented and the illumination that we got, I'm more than a little disappointed. Not only disappointed in how it went, and I'm not saying they're not disappointed in that, but I'm disappointed that they never, be careful how I word this, disappointed that they just didn't feel compelled to stand there and tell us how things went and why it didn't go well. Because we never saw them step up there and say, well, this is what happened to us. And we appreciate what you did for us. It just didn't work out. So I'm just going to make that clear that I just think that was not a good move.
I would tend to agree with you on that. my observation is I did go down and look at the operation in South Brevard, and it was very impressive. But then they came up here, and as soon as they came here, they also opened another one in Rockledge, and they were looking at another one somewhere else. I don't know, it was Cocoa Beach or somewhere else. I have the feeling that he overextended himself and just couldn't keep it all going without the funding that was necessary and the volunteers and so forth. He didn't develop each one at a time. He just tried to jump in. Now, that doesn't have anything to do with his not coming up and letting us know that. I think that would have been the right thing to do, but it didn't happen, and at this point, there's nothing else we can do about it, or should do about it, I feel. So with that, anything else for this meeting, sir?
Sir, I believe you want to talk about a letter?
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding. I hope all of you saw a letter that was written to me by one of our county commissioners, not our county commissioner. And I am going to be answering that, not in the style he did, but I'm going to do that. And the last time we voted that I would talk for the council, and I just want to make sure I'm going to work with the city manager and the city attorney on it, certainly, that I'd like a vote that I'd be able to send a letter back to the county commission as to that letter and the facts of the matter. Sir.
Move that you reply to the county commissioner's letter on behalf of the city council.
Sir, do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Passes unanimously, and thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And last, sir, last agenda item is public comment.
Yes. Any members of the public that would like to speak? You guys are here for a reason, I know. Would any members of the public like to speak? She just came to visit, Troy, is that it? By the way, sir, at our meeting this morning, the gathering about the future of Titusville, you did a fine job, sir. We appreciate what you're doing. And our city manager as well. I commented on him at the group. I should also do it here. They did a great job, and so did Dr. Slocum. It was Slocum, I guess it is. It was very informative, so thank you. Okay, if no one has anything else, we performed our functions.
We're out of here.
Mission accomplished. That's what I was going to say.